All right. There we go. Hey, folks, and thank you, Electorold. Ooh, that's fun to say. Thank you for becoming a channel member. I very much appreciate that. God, I am so beyond ready for this heat to properly break. Like even when things are like not quite as hot, it's still so flippin' humid. Yeah, I know it's been a while. I was traveling during what would have been the last live stream. I just did 40 minutes of exercise. I normally use your stream as an excuse to skip that. But I skipped it yesterday. Figure I couldn't do that 2 days in a row. Well, I'm sorry I can't be your excuse this time. Been watching your work for over 10 years. Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a very hot day, but yes, I'm having an okay day. Oh God, yeah, I have been doing this a while, and you've been around for a while. My goodness. Okay, what was I gonna? Right. We just had our AC replaced. Necessary but expensive. Yeah. This is an older house, so there's no central air. There are like AC units in a couple of rooms, like in the living room and in some of the bedrooms. Not in my office, though. Unfortunately. Don't forget to like this. Yeah, everybody, smash that like button. Do the YouTube things. Okay. Sorry, I'm just setting something up that I'm going to want to share. UK is currently having the driest summer ever. All the grass is turning brown. Welcome to 2026, I guess. The house I currently have in Seattle is over 100 years old. It's been hell on earth over here. Yeah. I don't know how long I've been watching. I know you still had the flat cap when I started watching. Yeah, like the flat cap, I think, started getting more or less fully phased out by 2021. I'd have to go back and like check that. How does 2026 feel both better and worse than 2025? I don't know, but that is pretty accurate. Even though your Doctor Who videos were what made me originally stick around, the first video I ever saw from you was the one you made on queer baiting. Oh, that one did pretty well for me. Come on. Dang it. There we go. Let's right. So just bear with me a second as So I went to the main Renaissance Festival over the weekend, which I haven't been to, and one of the things I came away with was this. And now I am very tempted to walk the dog, like either at dusk or after dark, carrying this. I really want to cement like a witchy reputation in my neighborhood, I think. Just checking where the heat's coming from before I put this back where I had it, because I'm just trying to be careful about what gets hot as a result of that. I think that's going to be okay, but I'm going to have to check that again. Vera, I've got a bug on me. No, this is Flutter, who I also got at the Ren Fair. This is my new hand dragon, who isn't on my hand at the moment, but thought it would let you see them better. Speaking of queer and Doctor Who, what do you think was the 15th Doctor's best look? I'm partial to his 50s pinstripe suit from Lux. I don't know if it's just because I got to spend the most time thinking about it because it was the one that was in all the initial like promotional stuff. I do like the orange one, honestly. Sound is anyone besides Black Cover having trouble hearing me? I know you're not fond of musicals based on famous movies. What are your thoughts on film adaptations of musicals? I kind of did a whole video on that last year. Hollywood has a tendency to, or has a history recently of picking the wrong musicals to adapt to film. But I did a whole video on that. This is a pain in the butt to get into. Sounds lower than usual. Okay. Well, let me raise that then. And hopefully that helps. Good thing I don't have background music or anything. I am kind of orange. Can I fix that? No, that's worse. That's a little better, I guess. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. Okay. Whenever I'm backlit, it throws this dang camera off. I wondered if you were going to talk about the Pearl voice actor thing, but I imagine all you could say about that as well, she's not the character. Yeah, pretty much. Like, is it, a frustrating thing to learn that a person who voiced a show that voiced a lead character in a show with a massive queer fan base, and is a demonstrably queer character, in her own way, like, has those kinds of beliefs? Yeah, it is. Also, it happens. Like, I think the only thing that is in question, and it's only a question if it was ever on the table, is whether or not Pearl, as a character, shows up when Lars from the Stars eventually happens, and if it's the same voice actress. That might be a conversation worth happening, but I don't think it's worth having a particularly large conversation over. For folks who didn't know, the voice actress who voiced Pearl on Steven Universe, I mean, the headline people are using is that she's MAGA. I'm not sure if she is, but she's definitely been pulling some conservative nonsense and following and liking some MAGA folks. So, so because it's in the title of the stream, I have this. God. This is a gummy pickle. And no, I don't mean it is a gummy in the shape of a pickle. It is attempting to be pickle flavored. I've had this before, but it's been a while. God, that's weird. It's not bad. But, oh, it's weird. It is. It is very strange. Gotta put some. Had to go grab some to put that on. Yeah. Oh goodness. Because the thing is, like, while it is trying to be pickle flavored, it's not straight up just trying to be pickle flavored. It is still trying to be sweet, like most gummies. But it's still like also trying to have that the dill flavoring and kind of the sourness, but also sweet. It's odd. Been seeing my gran express some more and more right-leaning views as time goes on. Not very fun. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Does that have pot in it? No, it's not that kind of gummy, 255. It's just gummy candy. Start watching Doctor Who again on AMC Plus. Blink is still awesomeness. Yep. I have so far avoided getting an AMC Plus subscription. And I might have to at some point because If nothing else, probably next year I'm going to do my take two reviews on well, actually, I won't need to for the Gato era. They'll still be on Disney. I might not need it. I don't know. You've ever made dill bread? I'm not a baker. I don't make bread. At that rate, why not just try a Kool-Aid pickle? There's a short on this channel of me trying a Warheads pickle, and if that is even vaguely what a Kool-Aid pickle is like, no, thank you. God, I don't know why I bought this. God, it's so weird. Because like the aftertaste is almost all sweet, but at the front end, it's like that little bite of not like sour candy sour, but like sour pickled sour. It's so weird. Mm. I've tried that Pepsi Max Raspberry Ripple flavor soft drink. This is why I don't drink soda. Trans bathroom hit the UK as of 10 minutes ago. Feeling bummed out and still stressed. Glad this space is here. Well, I'm glad that you feel welcome here. So yeah, there's unfortunately there's a lot. It's just a lot. How is it you can go on any fairground rides if you can't play FPS games? You mentioned taking your kid to Six Flags on practice the other day. Surprised me for that reason. Depends on the ride. I can't do spinny rides. Like I can't do the Gravitron, I can't do the Scrambler. But the thing is, most, not all, but most roller coasters, even though they have you going like spinning and upside down, the feeling is forward momentum. So the overall experience is a forward rush, even as I'm getting tilted. The primary sensation I have is forward thrust, not spin. It's spin I can't handle. So there are things that I can't do. There's a ride at the Six Flags we go to. I think it's called the Flashback, which goes forward and then it does the same thing again backwards. And I cannot do that one. I cannot go backwards. And there's like one called Pandemonium where the car that you're in like can spin and rotate, and there's a Joker ride that does a similar thing. I can't do any of that. But like if it's just fast but the track like does corkscrews or whatever, the sensation my body is feeling is the forward rush, which overrides the sense of spin. So I do okay with those. That said, I am still getting old enough that like I need a breather between them, but excuse me. Have you seen any musicals or stage plays lately? I don't think. What was the last stage play I saw? I think the last stage play I saw was Murder on the Orient Express. That was last year. Although later this summer, I'm going to go see a friend in a production of California Suite. So that'll probably, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to as far as that kind of stuff goes. Best episode of Docky Who. God, I'm sorry. Every time I see it done like that, it just kind of makes me snicker. Barely contains the Doctor, which feels like a backhanded compliment to them. Oh, are we talking about Blink still? Blink is not the best episode of Doctor Who. Blink's a great episode. It is not the best episode of Doctor Who, in my humble opinion. Did you ever try Bertie Bott's every flavor beans before you started boycotting Harry Potter merch? I did. Holy crap. They did taste like what they were advertised as, which is... Ooh. I reject the idea that an episode like Blink, which is actively built to reject the Doctor Who formula, is the best example of it. Is an idea I disagree with. Well, I don't think it's the best episode because I don't think it's the best episode. I have no problem with the formula, and actually I think it works as a test bubble episode just to give people a taste of like the level of weirdness they'd be getting into if they try and get into the show. But like, I don't think I necessarily agree that it is built to reject the formula. It's just a different formula. It's not a rejection of it. I can handle the Gravitron, but the Scrambler messes me up every time. I can't do either one. I used to be able to still handle the Gravitron, but I can't anymore. I am too old and my inner ear is too sensitive. Just reading Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm obsessed. I have heard very good things. I have not read any of that. Largely because I'm still working through commissions of stuff I need to read. So, I know you made a short about this, but what are your thoughts on Matt Vogel as Kermit the Frog? He's fine. He is fine. People need to shut up. I'm not saying people have to love him or think that he's the best performer, but like, what's really weird about the Matt Vogel thing is a lot of people are like, oh, his voice is too deep. Kermit's voice should be higher. Kermit's voice was higher with the previous guy who'd been doing it, but that guy's voice was higher than when Jim Henson was doing it. So like, when people complain about Matt Vogel's voice being too deep, they're not even comparing it to Jim Henson, just the guy who immediately preceded him. Like, I don't. And then people get hung up on the voice as if the puppetry is not actually the more important thing, and doing both at once is a skill most people who could do the voice better do not have. I don't know why I decided to eat this. But it's sitting there, so I have to. I remember Time Lash. Time Lash, Time Flight, Black Orchid. There's some wonky stuff. I had my own I'm getting too old moment last February at the front of a metal mosh pit and realized I was struggling to stay there. Oh, Jason Newity. I answered your question, but I didn't give you the little gay heart of appreciation. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. The Muppets thing is a mess, sadly. I mean, look. Almost anything with a dedicated fandom is a mess right now. Partially out of the owners of said IP not knowing how to please that fandom, and partially because all fandoms are insane now, apparently. Jason Newity, back again with another super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. What anime have you seen, and are there any you particularly enjoy? I am not especially well-versed in anime, and there are not very many that I have seen the entirety of. Ones that I have seen the entirety of, and my overall thoughts on them, I have seen all of the original Hellsing. Not Hellsing Ultimate, but just Hellsing. And it's good up to a point. The last stretch is so detached from everything that happened prior to that it kind of falls apart. Vision of Escaflowne, I like a lot, but I also have not rewatched since I was in my 20s. So I'm a little scared to rewatch that one. But I did really love it. I like Cowboy Bebop. I think it's overrated, but I do like it. Full Metal Alchemist. I never got through Brotherhood, but I did watch Full Metal Alchemist. It's solid. Again, I personally think it's overrated. I like Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex, and Second Gig. I need to find time to check out the version of Ghost in the Shell that's on Amazon now, because I'm real curious about it. I'm not sure I'm excited, but I'm very curious. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in terms of anime series that I've watched, because I tend to watch more anime movies than shows. So like anime movies, Ghost in the Shell is one of my all-time favorites. I love Miyazaki movies. Summer Wars is one of my all-time favorites. Like I more readily watch that because a lot of the shows are a lot to take in, especially some of the ones that go on for a while. I'm Rizzo the Rat. Oh, Rizzo! And Rizzo started appearing on camera again recently. which he didn't for a while because there was the performer for him was, I think he was the one that was fired. Sorry, I'm just checking the temperature coming off this candle again. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I anyways, Rizzo, we didn't see him for a while because there hadn't been a replacement being trained. Like that was part of the issue. The performer wouldn't train a replacement or a backup, so we didn't have Rizzo appearing for a while. But he's back. He started appearing again, which makes me very, very happy. Gonzo, oh, one of the few still being performed by the original performer, which makes me very happy. Did you get into Death Note? I have not seen Death Note. Nope, never did that one. I tried to do Attack on Titan. I think I got 4 episodes in, and I was like, I think I need to just find something else. Been on a Doctor Who rewatch the last few months, having landed at Series 9 and hit an absolute wall. I'm now remembering why Series 9 is one of my least favorite pre-Chibnall series. See, I like Series 9 better than Series 8, but again, a big part of that is I really like 12's arc, his character journey over the course of 8, 9, and 10, and 10's my favorite. So I guess it's easy for me to get through Series 9, if only for the promise of Series 10 to follow. Kermit the Frog first appeared in Sesame Street. No, Kermit the Frog first appeared in commercials. Same with Rolf the dog. Vera, how could you have a chillax stream without me? Now I'm here. Let the party begin. Woo! Good to have you here, Nit. Summer Wars was a spiritual successor to Digimon Our War Game. I'll have to take your word for that. Like, I get where the influence of something like Digimon comes in, but I really like Summer Wars a lot. The new Ghost in the Shell anime is supposed to be hyper manga accurate, which I like to the point that it's still set in a futuristic version of 2029 because that was the far future in the 80s. I hadn't heard specifically that it was super manga accurate. I had heard that it's bringing in specific elements from the manga that basically every other adaptation has ignored, specifically the humor, which, again, I'm curious. I don't know if I'm excited because I have read a decent chunk of the original manga and am personally of the opinion that the previous adaptations were largely right to drop the humor aspect from that book. That having been said, at this point, it's been adapted enough times that is a new angle to bring in an ignored part of that, whole thing. So, I mean, it's valid, I suppose. Those commercials were something. Oh, yeah, the old black and white commercials that the Henson folks did. Yeah. They are something. Have you seen Jim Henson's Wilkins coffee commercials? I have, yes. I still haven't seen Ghost in the Shell any version. The first movie version is one of my favorite all time. That was one of those movies that blew my mind when I first saw it. Like that one really, really did something to my brain. I love that first one. I actually even really like the second one a lot. It's not as good, but it is quite good. But it is a tricky thing to try and do because the times that it's been done well, it's been done so well that it is kind of a, should anyone else still be trying to do this? So it's a tricky property. Why? What's wrong with the humor? I mean, first of all, humor is subjective, black cover, so there's the fact that it didn't make me laugh. But also for me personally, the humor and the way it was deployed frequently clashed against the philosophical ideas that it was trying to present. For me, when I tried to, well, I say tried to, I did actually read it. When I read it, I found myself just getting massive whiplash from scenes going from these somber discussions of the nature of being and of consciousness and the philosophical concept of the self to, big exaggerated wacky anime faces and somebody, you know, having the massive teardrop and the tear eyes like, oh, it was jarring. I don't, again, I understand part of that's cultural. But for me, yeah, no. Rewatched X2. MCU has a high bar to clear. X2 is really good. I don't know what they're gonna do with the X-Men. Like, I am curious to find out, but again, I don't know if I'm excited. If they ever bring back Romana to Doctor Who would you want to play her? I'm just a bad person to ask that. I'm not into fan casting. I have no idea. I'm a bad person to ask. I think people don't realize how revolutionary steampunk anime in the 80s and 90s was. So unique, then with properties like Ghost in the Shell and Akira. I mean, cyberpunk started being real big. I feel like steampunk, you know, kind of followed after. But yeah, cyberpunk in anime specifically really had a massive cultural impact. And while I like Akira, that didn't profoundly impact me the way Ghost in the Shell did. It didn't even come close, to be honest. Should they bring back Romana as a man? I'd rather they didn't. Like, I honestly don't think they should really bring back Romana at all, personally. But, I mean, whatever, man. The show's on hiatus, whether they call it that or not. So, whatever. You said that a while back that Chosen Ones was your number one trope / cliche you don't like. Excuse me. What are some others you're not as fond of? I mean, relatedly to Chosen Ones, I don't like prophecies. I don't like the vast majority of romantic subplots. I don't like what sometimes gets termed liar reveal stories, where like near the start of the plot, you know, the lead character has a big secret that they're keeping from everybody, so it just lays out the plot immediately that eventually the people who the character doesn't want to find out the secret will find out the secret, and then 99 times out of 100 they'll be angry, but then they'll come back and be like, oh, but like you had good intentions anyways, or whatever the hell. And it's very trite and boring, and I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of the power of friendship. It can work. I mean, literally any of these can work. Just for me, they rarely do. If they bring back Romana, the new would have to be a redhead. Wig or dye would be fine. Honestly, that I'd be on board for. Bringing in Romana as a redhead just to piss off the Doctor. Yeah, I'd be game for that. I just rewatched Curse of the Fatal Death special with someone because they like Mr. Bean, and was great, barring some sexism with 13 being a woman. Here too is a wild coincidence. That is a funny coincidence. I'd forgotten about that. I've been crucified for this before. I don't super like Curse of the Fatal Death. Again, there are a few things as subjective as comedy. I don't find it super funny. But I get other people love it, and that's fine. I think my concern with the MCU X-Men is that I can't see Disney actually pulling off the oppression angle of the franchise without sanitizing it. I mean, that is a pretty legitimate concern, and it's why I kind of expect X-Men characters to pop up in other things for a while before there is a dedicated X-Men movie. Twilord, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you very, very much. Both directed by Mamoru Hosoda, who said Summer Wars was an expanded version, unchanged from Digimon, maybe the collective unconscious Feywild aspects, or just a brand protections of Bandai. Oh, that is interesting. Because I did. Summer Wars is one of my favorite animes. Like, I love the way Summer Wars escalates, because you take the starting premise that it begins on, which is girl asks boy to pretend to be her fiance at her family reunion, and the fact that it starts there and then like the final climax has the stakes that it does. It's such an absurd escalation, but it feels so natural. It's so weird. So weird. My Adventures with Superman is currently doing a plot about Clark coming to terms with losing his powers, and it's really annoying to me because you know he's getting them back. Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, sometimes like you can get wrapped up enough in it if it's a good exploration of that idea. But yeah, that is a thing that tends to hang in the back of your head with stuff like that. I need to pop over to the Discord and answer the questions that are there. Feel free to drop super chats while I'm away, and I will address them when I get back. What do we got? What are your thoughts on the Yu-Gi-Oh! TV show and its spinoff? Never seen them, no thoughts. In terms of only comics, which one, DC or Marvel, do you like most? I prefer Marvel because Marvel does more story about people. DC tends to be larger and grander in scope. I've heard it said before that DC stories tend to be about gods and Marvel stories tend to be about people. And while there are obviously exceptions in either camp to that rule, I do think that is generally true, and I generally prefer Marvel for that reason. Have you ever heard of or played any of the Skylanders games? Of course, I heard of them. They were huge for a hot minute there. No, I never played them. Do you know that speech Todd gives Bojack? The "you can't keep doing this" speech. Good speech. Could that speech be interpreted as conservative? Like that sentiment, you need to stop using your hard life as an excuse to be a fuck up and just choose to be better. Is that conservative sentiment? No, it's not. It can be twisted to conservative ends the way literally almost any sentiment can be. But it's not an innately conservative sentiment. It is a call for accountability and actually putting the work in. Like the way that would be twisted to conservative ends would be what they feel qualifies as being a fuck up compared to what someone like me would. Like a conservative would look at me and say, I have fucked up my life. I obviously disagree. But no, the sentiment is not inherently conservative at all. Can you think of an instance in like a mainstream TV show or film where someone gave a really good sincere apology and got rejected regardless? People point to stuff like BoJack and Herb or Nolan and Debbie as examples of fictional works giving the message no one is entitled to forgiveness. But if that was the intention with either of those, the fact that they were both terrible apologies arguably undermines the message because it implies a better apology might have been accepted. I'm not sure that it automatically implies that. I mean, like you can argue that it does. I'm sure that I have. But I cannot think of an example off the top of my head. I'm almost certain that I've seen that done, but I cannot think of where. Does matter need to be set in the culture universe? So this is Matter by Ian M. Banks. I reread it after I did the commission last year and realized their involvement in the events of the novel is incredibly tangential. I mean, well, it depends on whether your question is, did it need to be set in the culture universe or did it need to involve the culture itself? Because the culture as an entity barely factors in. That universe overall is actually pretty important to the story. So, like, I suppose technically you could do a lot of what Matter does without having it be set in the culture, because again, the culture itself is a minimal factor, but it definitely like did need to be set in a world like that, if not that world. Yeah. Like, there's a version of that story that is just the fantasy world, or fantasy feeling world that is a struggle for the throne. There is a version that's just straight up that, but then that's not the same story anymore. Apart from Transform, what's your favorite steam-powered giraffe song? Ooh, I was gonna look at, because I'm afraid I'm gonna get a name wrong. So hang on, let me check, like, because I had some pulled. Hang on. I meant to settle on a answer to that before I started the stream, and I forgot. Probably Turn Back the Clock. Either that or Honeybee are probably my next favorite. Did you hear that Matt Smith narrated a spicy audio story on Quinn? I did, and I even like heard a little bit of it. You go, Matt. Good on you. Are you going to do a reaction for the Wicker trailer? Unfortunately, I watched it without realizing there was any buzz around it, so I didn't think to film a reaction. I have seen it though, and I am intrigued. Wicker, aka 50 Shades of Hay. God, why do I keep taking another bite of that thing? Oh, what is wrong with me? Ah. And I wasn't even prepared for that one. Like I've braced myself before taking a bite out of this. What? Oh God. What am I doing? That was a big bite too. Now I have to finish this. Sorry. There we go. Do you think in some ways that Doctor Who being the BBC's flagship sci-fi show might actually be detrimental to the show because it could make them less likely to take risks with the property? I mean, potentially. But like at this point, they kind of have to. Like, what is the safe choice to do with Doctor Who? They did the safe choice already. They brought back the guy who revived the show back in 2005, and it didn't work. So like with that now off the table, what even is like the less risky version of Doctor Who? I'm not saying there isn't one, but I don't even know if there's a clear default on what that would be. Which do you think was the biggest improvement between the writer's first and second story? Fear Her to the Rebel Flesh / The Almost People. That was a big leap in quality. Rise of the Cybermen / Age of Steel to The Girl Who Waited. Oh, didn't realize that was the same writer. Kill the Moon to the Zygon Invasion / Zygon Inversion. Well, it's not that last one because Zygon Invasion / Zygon Inversion is not a great story. It has a great speech in it, but that speech's greatness is also largely to do with Capaldi's ability to deliver it. And as time has gone on, I actually take a little bit of philosophical issue with that speech, who it's directed to and what it's saying, but it is masterfully delivered. But that one's not even in the conversation. So out of the ones you gave me, I'd say the biggest leap was from Fear Her to the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. Like, that's a good leap. With the announcement that David Johnson from Alien Romulus is set to be cast as the new Black Panther, do you support the decision to introduce a new version of the character in Black Panther 3, or would you have preferred if Shuri remained the central character? I think it's fine to introduce an aged up version of T'Challa's son to be the new Panther. I think I might feel differently if Shuri hadn't had a chance to carry the mantle, but she did. And so it doesn't feel like, missing the opportunity or depriving an actor who was capable of carrying the film a chance to do so. She had her go at that. And like ultimately when we get a Black Panther 3, I might feel that after seeing it, that maybe it would have been better to keep Shuri, but that'll be dependent on the end result. Conceptually, no, I'm okay with it, but I'm okay with it because Shuri got to be the lead in Wakanda Forever. So yeah. All right. I am now back in the live stream, and I see the chat again. I can talk. I swear there's nothing mind altering in that. I don't know why I can't talk, she says as she takes another swig. All right, let's see. Jasonuity, what about Ghibli movies? I like Ghibli. I've seen almost all of Miyazaki's output. I have not seen that much of the other Ghibli directors. I've seen some, but yeah, Ghibli's solid stuff. And Supremo Mega, thank you for the super chat. X-Men is your view of Cyclops shaped by the 80s/90s because 2000s had him hook up with Emma Frost, fire Xavier, General of the Mutants, Revolutionary Cyclops. Like my general view of the while I have some awareness of what's been done with the X-Men in the 2000s, 2010s, and so forth, my fundamental notions of these characters was largely shaped by the 80s and the 90s. So, I mean, my my general view of Scott is that he's a good leader and a bad almost everything else. Like, dude is a terrible partner. My heart goes out to anyone who dates him. And yes, that is largely has to do with the fact that he just abandoned Madeline Pryor at the drop of a hat. Screw that guy. Did you ever watch Mythbusters? I did. That was a fun show. It's also fun to hear, mostly at this point, Adam Savage, because Jamie Hyneman doesn't really talk public very much, but Adam Savage will talk about it. And it's always funny to hear about, because like it's funny because if you watch the show, you think, oh, these are really good friends who know how to wind each other up, and then you hear about them afterwards, and they're like, no, we didn't really hang out or do that much. We weren't great friends. And some people will twist that into, oh, they didn't like working together. No, they liked working together fine, but that's all they were. They were colleagues. They weren't friends. But yeah, no, I liked Mythbusters. I liked it. There was a time I was in a financial position to send super chats. I empathize. I would love someday for Ghibli and Toho to work together and give us Godzilla and his fellow kaiju done in Miyazaki's animation style. I don't think I agree. It would be an interesting curiosity for sure, but I'm not sure I would ever ask for that. But that's me. Madeline and Jean should take a moment to read Scott for Filth. Yeah! Yeah, agreed. Do you have any thoughts on Dropout's acquisition of the stream rights to Don Hertzfeldt films? I saw that announcement today, and that made me so happy. I love Don Hertzfeldt. Like, that's fantastic. That makes me really happy. Adam Savage reminds me of Hank Green and vice versa. A little bit. Yeah, I can kind of see it. The one Mythbusters episode. God, why can't I talk? Episode I won't watch is the one with the car sinking into the river. Even knowing that nothing bad will happen, it's still too much. Fair enough. R.I.P. Grant Imahara. Yeah, that was a bummer. Top 3 Ghibli movies out of what you've seen. For me, it's Castle in the Sky, Howl's Moving Castle, and Ponyo. My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, and picking the third one is the tough one. I think I'll go with Howl for that, but that third spot changes. Those top 2 don't. The third one changes. Have you ever heard of The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald? It was a direct-to-video series from the late 90s, early 2000s, starring Ronald McDonald and his friends. The whole thing's on YouTube. I feel like that sounds vaguely familiar. But no, I never saw it or anything. Have you seen the Paramount Warner Bros. Merger hitting the most recent array of legal proceedings? Yeah, Awesome Gamer, but like I have zero hope of that merger being stopped. I'm glad it's hitting road bumps. I want it to hit as many road bumps as possible and cost Paramount as much additional money they hadn't counted on as possible. Ruin these people as far as I'm concerned. But like I don't have any hope that this merger actually gets blocked. I would be ecstatic. I'd be to the moon and back if it does, but I have no actual hope that it gets blocked. So this to me is just Like it's the UK being the last to sign off on the Activision acquisition by Microsoft all over again, as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad somebody's putting up a fight, but I expect ultimately for it to be allowed to go through. What are Don Hertzfeldt films? If you don't know his name, then you almost definitely have not seen anything he's done. He does very odd, usually short animated films. Yeah, I don't know how to explain Don Hertzfeldt to people. I just don't. You kind of just have to find his stuff and try and watch some of it. President Clamp with a K. Is that a Gremlins 2 reference? I hope it is. I really hope it is. Anyways, thank you for the super chat. Sean Levy's Ghost Rider. Thoughts, Nick Cage films? I don't have any thoughts on the Ghost, because they've got, Ryan Gosling is going to be the next Ghost Rider. I'll have a thought when there's at least a trailer. Other than that, I don't really have thoughts. Levy's a solid director. He's a decent enough pick. And the Nick Cage films, well, you could tell Nick Cage was real passionate about it, but they're both bad for different reasons. The first one is just kind of a slog and a little bit boring for a lot of it. And then the second one needs to be sat down and be put on medication, because, God, that one's headache inducing. I hope Savage is better at not using it. Yeah, that thing with Hank Green. I saw that. Look, I just hope that he takes the lessons away from all this that his fans are rooting for. What's wrong with the merger? I mean, mergers in general are bad news. Consolidation of power and of market is bad for literally everyone. It's the trend towards monopoly. Mergers at this size should never be allowed to happen, no matter who's doing it. Literally nobody should be allowed to buy Warner Brothers, as far as I'm concerned, especially not a company that already is an entertainment company. Like, look, it wasn't good when Apple bought Warner Brothers, but it was less of an issue than the idea of Paramount buying them, which is a direct consolidation of entertainment power within that industry. And then on top of that, Paramount is run by some of the worst people right now. So there's your short answer. Supreme Omega back again. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you. And the 2000s comics writers, since you said your piece about Johns with the 2000s DC, what is your opinion of Brian Michael Bendis as a writer with 2000s Marvel? Needed a better editor. Bendis needs somebody who will cut his dialogue by anywhere from 20 to 40%. But he's got solid ideas. And he handles characters pretty decently. Dude just talks too much. Dude just does not let the artist talk as much as the artist should be allowed to do the talking. And he just dumps these massive blocks of dialogue too often. I'm not saying there's never a reason to do that, but he does it too much. But he's solid. His ideas are pretty good. I really loved his run on Mystique when she had a solo book. When I was a kid, the two kids shows most popular were Mr. Rogers and Captain Kangaroo. Captain Kangaroo was one of those things that I only ever heard about and never saw. Oh, and Sesame Street pre-Elmo. Yeah, Sesame Street pre-Elmo really kind of does feel like a different beast, doesn't it? Gremlins 2 deserves love. Yes, it does. I love Gremlins 2. It's the better movie. And I will not be entertaining arguments to the contrary. Is that beer? No, Migs. I hate beer. God, why am I still eating this thing? And look how much of this is left. that was a terrible idea. I'm not going to finish it. Like you'll be chewing it, and it'll just come across as like almost like sour apple. But then the dill flavoring like will hit you on the back. It's like, oh God. It sucker punches you. God. Yeah. Oh. You're the second YouTuber this week to mention Gremlins 2. That is not enough. More people should talk about it. Jasonuity, once more, thank you very much. Do you watch wrestling? I watched a very small amount of wrestling in the early 90s. I never got into it. I understand the appeal of it, and it's actually one of those things that I find fascinating to listen to other people talk about. It's kind of like how I feel about a lot of the video game industry at this point. But no, I never really got into it. The obsession thing reminded me of something I feel like is good to remember. If you identify with a shitty character, that's not the work attacking you. Yeah, but, certain kinds of people, straight, cis, white, hetero men, excuse me, certain kinds of people are not used to having their behavior challenged and will not be open to that reality. Supreme Omega returns. The revenge. On Mark Millar and Garth Ennis. Because they are seen as the edgelords of the 90s, 2000s comic writers. Yet they will never mock or tear down Superman. Isn't it ironic? No, it means they have a tiny bit of self-awareness. I am not a big fan of either one of them. That's not to say that neither has ever done good work. I will flatly praise some, not all, but some of Ennis's work on The Punisher. The Punisher was a great match for him. And like his instincts worked for that character really well. But I don't like most of the rest of his stuff that I've tried to read. I haven't liked what little I've read of Mark Millar. Yeah. Just not for me. Like my kind of edgelordy guy that used to be my go-to, like, see, this is the good version of that, was Warren Ellis, but he turned out to be an absolute piece of garbage. So, we can't have nice things. Enjoying listening to people talk about it is my entire relationship with Doctor Who. Boy, especially if you're around this channel. Yeah. My uncle was so angry about the existence of Jax in TADC, perhaps because they have some similar personality traits, and Jax is kind of him if he didn't start improving. Oh, boy. Wow. Have you traveled outside the U.S.? Yes, I have been to Canada, and I've been to the U.K. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. I am not especially well-traveled. I notice you wear the same pendant quite frequently. Does it have any special significance? Yes, it was a gift. That means a great deal to me. I'm going to leave it at that. Oh, Jasonuity, back once more. What are your favorite video games? Final Fantasy VI, Journey, Spiritfarer, and Inmost are probably the top 4, I guess. If I were to tack a 5th one on there, God, I want to say Cloud Meadow, but I shouldn't say Cloud Meadow. Let's say Hollow Knight and forget that I mentioned the other one. If you don't know, don't look it up. Just don't. Just don't. Speaking of travel, will you be at Rose City Comic Con next month? I will. I'll be there on Saturday on the con floor. I adore the Mass Effect series, not the 4th one. Oh, well, Andromeda. They don't even call it Mass Effect 4. It's easy to to disregard. Have you seen Begonia? I have not. It's on my to watch list, but I have not gotten to it. Immediately goes to look it up. You were given fair warning. That is all I am saying. And we'll leave it at that. Coyote Azul, hello, and thank you very much for the super chat. I don't know why this is the voice we are doing now, but this is how the dominoes have fallen, and we must deal with it. Just recalling you telling someone earlier, I appreciate you. My GF, who is trans, tells me that all the time. It's funny. That is a phrase that I have largely heard from trans people, because I think a lot of us really want to be sure that the people who bring a lot of joy and light to our lives understand how much we appreciate them. And it can feel, it has a different flavor to it than a lot of other phrases. You should visit Cambridge at some point, partly to see some of the shooting locations for Shada. Douglas Adams was from Cambridge. I did know that, although being from New England, my brain immediately went to Cambridge, Mass, which I have been to. We love the voice. Why? Why? That was an absurd voice. I don't know what I was doing. Controversial Mass Effect hot take. Mass Effect 3 is my favorite, and Mass Effect 2 is my least favorite to replay. I mean, I'll just take your word for that. I never got into the series at all. Do you think the Odyssey discourse will be viewed in the long... How do you think the Odyssey discourse will be viewed in the long term now that the film has been a box office hit? Funny you ask. Not going to answer, because that is more or less Saturday's video. Have you ever seen Hades Town? Nope, I have not. Dropping in briefly to say hi since I see you're streaming. I'll need to drop off shortly. I'm getting tired. Well, thank you for stopping in. We're going to be wrapping up in a couple of minutes anyway. Absurd is fun. I agree. More absurd. No. We are here for the absurd. It's controversial because Mass Effect 2 is the fan favorite and people hate 3 because of the ending. Oh, I did know that much. Awesome Gamer. I did know that much. I'm just saying I can't give an opinion on your opinion. Saturday video name drop. Yeah, sort of, I guess. I think it's almost... I think it's almost because all my GF's partners, I show up the most consistently. That can do it too. I feel like you consume fiction wrong if you never let yourself identify with villains. I don't know. I'd have to have a conversation with someone who literally thinks you shouldn't identify with villains. Because while I'm not going to say that person doesn't exist, I've not had direct interactions with that person. And I would kind of need to pick their brains to understand why the hell anyone would hold that view. That you are never supposed to identify with villains. Jasonuity, you are very busy this evening. And I appreciate it every time. Do you think one day after we're all dead, people will talk about The Simpsons the same way we talk about the Odyssey? No. Barring, like, here's something that we often don't take into account when we are talking about like the great stories of antiquity. Or, you know, the great historical artifacts, be they the Bible, be they the Odyssey, be they the Iliad, be they even more current than that in Shakespeare's plays or whatever, that there's this thing called survivorship bias, which is that there is a ton of stuff from those time periods that is just lost. We don't have it and it's gone. And as a result, we tend to innately raise up on a pedestal whatever pieces we still have. I mean, like, if the only piece of written, it's not literally this, but go with me. If the only piece of written history from that particular point in time was the Odyssey, nobody wants to be the person who says, I don't think this story's very good. It's all we've got. You kind of have to love it. So I don't think that'll ever happen with The Simpsons, because it's never going to have the favorship of survivorship bias. It's going to be preserved in some form, be it physical media or digital, along with 5 million other things from the exact same time period. It's not going to have that laser focus of being one of the few things we have in its entirety from that time. Barring some massive cataclysm that wipes out huge chunks of historical record, our ability to preserve things now means that almost nothing made today will ever carry the weight of the Odyssey, the Iliad, Metamorphosis, whatever it might be. It can't, because it will never be so unique as those things are in terms of how much, or in terms of how little there is around from that time period. So straight logistics means the answer is no. There's a post-apocalyptic play about an episode of The Simpsons turning into a piece of classical literature because it's all that survives, which is kind of what would have to happen. Mr. Burns, the post-electric play. I have heard of that, yes. So we are going to wrap it up. I'm going to finish this. I'm not going to finish that. This I need to stop biting. Any Fourth Doctor and Leela Big Finish audios you're planning on checking out at some point? Trail of the White Worm, the Poseidon Adventure are my recommendation. I haven't gotten to Big Finish in a long time. I've just got such a backlog of stuff that I've been commissioned to. I haven't touched Big Finish in ages, which annoys me, honestly, that I haven't, but it's been a while. So we are going to wrap it up. So thank you all very much for joining me this evening. I hope may whatever lights are in your life and vicinity guide you home. And please remember to be well, be safe, and be kind. And remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Everybody take care. I'm not going to do the McCavity thing while I'm holding this. But I'll see you. Ah, heck. McCavity!